Okay.
Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. I'm your host, life coach Myrna Young, and sitting in the guest chair today is a very special guest. He's none other than my firstborn son, and he is a political commentator, serial entrepreneur. And I just thought that I will bring him on and introduce him to the world and introduce him to you because he's brilliant. He's very smart. He keeps his nose to the ground about what's going on in life. And I am very excited for our conversation today. We're going to be focusing on three main things today. We're going to be focusing on race relations in America. We're going to be talking about this new word that I just learned, oligarchy. And then, of course, we're going to be talking about DEI, which is diversity and inclusion programs. It's under attack right now. So, welcome, Kevin.
Hey, how you doing, folks? Nice to be here today.
Yes, yes, yes. That's awesome. All right.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I just introduced, Kevin as a serial entrepreneur. I mean, he's had lots of businesses. Like I said, he's very brilliant. He's got an entrepreneurial mind. But one of the things that the reason I wanted to talk to him is because he is very aware and is able to put himself in the situation about what's going on. And I will tell you, even though Kevin is Canadian, lives in Canada, the whole world is interested in what's going on in in America. I have friends from Jamaica. I have family member from the UK. Of course, all my Canadian family is tuned in and tapped in and turned on. I love those words by Abraham Hicks, into the lifeblood of America. What's going on in it? Our politics are not boring. So, to introduce yourself to the audience, Kevin, tell them how you became a political commentator and why this subject has so much interest to you.
Yeah, for sure. You know what I'm saying? Like I said before, my name is Kevin Mortley. I am the son of this wonderful woman that's actually doing this podcast, Myrna Young, life coach, right? And to start off, this conversation, I think we have to give a moment of silence for those that died today during that airplane crash. And I think we should start off there. So like 10 seconds moment of silence for those people, then we can continue with this conversation.
Yeah, thank you for introducing that.
All
It
right.
is a sad moment. Amen.
Yeah, so
That's
for me,
chills.
I think, when you become entrepreneur or you actually, have life skills to do stuff like that, you meet a lot of people and you go through a lot of things. I'm not a one to be like um a seniority based type of person. Like, there's people out there that think that, be this certain age to have knowledge of self, or you have to be this type of person to have any adequate knowledge about, your surroundings. But yeah, like I think everybody can learn, you know, about themselves and about the world. And like I said before, I went to school for journalistic broadcasting. We had many businesses growing up, so it's just interaction with people. I think, if you're going to be a good entrepreneur or a good person who can communicate and conduct yourself in a oral fashion, then you have to be a person is relatable to people. You could talk to people, you could, find yourself out of rough situations. And basically, I'm a purveyor of common sense. Common sense is not common, I believe, and everybody has their opinion on what a common sense is, right? So I have my own opinion.
Yes. All right. Okay. So, yes, listen, I'm very proud of you. I know that you're brilliant.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I know that you've got a brilliant mind. So,
Yep.
I'm glad that we're embarking on this,
Mhm.
podcasting conversation. All right. But
Yeah.
You just mentioned that you have been an entrepreneur and a great orator, and being able to connect to people, and it is very true. Everybody likes
Yes.
Kevin. Everybody, knows that Kevin is for the people. He would have made a great
Mhm.
politician. But and I,
Yes.
when I was thinking of this conversation today with you, I'm actually amazed because I have been a person that's into books for a long time. I mean, I was reading books, as a baby, right? I started off by reading
Yeah.
the garbage, the Harlequin romances, because I'm into love and all that. But in my
Yeah.
20s, I stopped reading trashy books and I started reading
Yes.
self-improvement books. So I'm very
Yes.
surprised at myself that I have never come across or learned American history and understood
Hmm.
slavery. And I'm reading
Yes.
books and I'm listening to books and I'm going into a different path these days about the compounding effect and the millionaire mindset and these things. And somebody said,
Hmm.
read Up From Slavery by Booker T. Washington.
Yeah.
And I read that
Yes.
book. And I have been transformed by the information in that book. And then right after that book, someone said, I think it was Booker T. Washington, started talking about Frederick Douglass. And now I'm reading
Hmm.
his book that says, what was it? Out of slavery, my bondage and my freedom. And that has put me in a
Yes.
whole new atmosphere about
Yes.
slavery
Yes.
and about the
Hmm.
psychology of what's going on right now with the race relations in
Yeah.
America. So I
Yes.
want to start off by saying
Hmm.
that one of the things that Booker T says, which is fairly obvious, but when he said
Hmm.
it back in the early 1900s, he said that a
Yes.
black boy born at the same time as a white boy has a totally different life. One goes this way and the other one goes
Yeah.
this way. And that's because the
Yeah.
black boy has many obstacles, disappointments, disadvantages, and you throw in the word there temptations. And I'm thinking that
Yes.
temptations would be, to steal, maybe to get fast money, to whatever the temptations are. But he
Yeah.
threw that in there. And the white boy does not have any of those things because he is white. He's got white privilege. All right. Most of the time,
Hmm.
he's coming from money. Right.
Yes.
And so the black boy has to work twice as hard. Now, we've all known that. Right. All your life,
Yeah.
in order to be recognized, you've got to be twice as good
Yeah.
as,
Yeah.
the white person. Right. So
Yeah.
I think that it's from that framework that DEI, which is diversity and inclusion, was created in the workflows.
Yeah.
I remember that
Yes.
when we were naming our little black girls and black boys, and you're giving them names that is so black
Yes.
that they didn't even get called for interviews
Yeah.
because you can look at the names and say, this is a black person.
Yes.
So the
Yes.
the you know the diversity and inclusion was there to give us a step up, right? Now the Trump
Yes.
administration came
Yeah.
on board, and I think in the first night he canceled, diversity and inclusion programs, saying that it's racist against
Yes.
white people. Now I've been hearing mumblings about that for
Yes.
a while now, right? That the
Yeah.
one black
Mhm.
job that somebody gets over the white person, it's too much
Yes.
because they get
Yes.
99% of the jobs and the black person gets the one. But they're saying
Hmm.
that if you're going to give a job to a black person because they're black, then it's
Yes.
discrimination. So
Yes.
we want to start off this conversation, Kevin, by talking.
Yes.
You're a black man born in Canada, and Canada
Yeah.
doesn't have the curse that Americans have regarding slavery, but
Yes.
their policies infiltrate everywhere, right? And you
Yes.
know that as a black man, you have been racially targeted and racially profiled in Canada.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
talk to us about this diversity and inclusion, where you think it's going.
Okay. So I like to always go back to what you're saying. Booker T. Washington was a brilliant mind. I believe. I never read any of his works, but as a man, I could feel his energy, As a half a native person, I feel that, um I deal with a lot of energy, you know what I'm saying? Like I can spot somebody, this is just me talking. I can spot
Yes.
somebody and say that's a good person. And usually I'm correct, right? So the language, when people talk about certain things is very important, I believe. And even though Booker T. Washington was a brilliant man, he still had house black man syndrome in my mind still because he's still calling us boys. We're not boys. That's what the white slavery used to call us to make us feel inferior. So I feel maybe in that time he had to like say stuff like that so the black man can relate. And that's what that time the black man was called a boy. Even a grown man for a little boy was called a boy, right? So right there to begin with is just lowering the standards of the man to feel that he's inferior to the white man at on that instance right there. And getting back to the DEI thing, I read something the other day that the people who actually benefited from DEI was white women,
Mm,
white women. Inclusion, okay, especially in military, the first people who were included other than men was white women. So they benefited from all those programs that they put into place, and they want to whitewash it and say it was just for blacks and stuff like that.
mhm,
I'm gonna tell you the truth, man. To begin with, everybody takes the same test, right? And if you're not capable to do those type of things, you're not gonna be in it. You could be any race,
mm,
you know. So for them to say that, you know, it has to do with somebody's, your inclusion or anything like that. I'm not even calling race because it's just ridiculous, right? So just to say that alone means that they're actually being covetous and malice to what they're saying, right? So for today, like I just seen this guy talk today, like about the plane crash. He's saying DEI was the cause for the plane crash, and he's
yeah.
talking about Biden and he's talking
Yeah.
about Obama. Yo,
Those hit
bro,
this guy,
listen to me. If
Trump.
you're a
He
man,
went on there
I
and
don't
said
care
that.
what man
Yes.
you are. I don't care what man you are. If you're a man, you take responsibility. If I go teeth a chocolate bar and I know I did it, I'll go to the prison judge and be like, yo, I did it, give you my sentence. And you'll probably have some leniency on you. But this man doesn't have anything like that. And I'm talking about a man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about a trans man. I'm talking about a real man, right? So you have to look at people in that form, right? In that form, like, if you can't talk truth to yourself, then
Wow. That's good
who
right
are you?
there. That's
Like,
good right there.
you're not even a real person, you know what I'm saying? So that's the way I want to go about looking at people. Not race, not gender, nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's all about what you say. You know what I'm saying? And you have to stand by that.
Well, it's really interesting that you would say that. But the first thing I said to myself, they always say that if you are a CEO of a company and something goes wrong, regardless as if your subordinates did wrong, you are
Yeah.
responsible. But yes, the
Yes.
first thing that happened under
That's the chain of
Trump's
command.
wash,
That's the chain of
that's right.
command.
He goes and
All
blames
right.
the outgoing administration. You're very right. He blames everybody for everything. But that's his character. But yeah,
All
so
right.
I couldn't understand why he was saying that it was a DEI problem. Was he saying that the air traffic controller was a black person and that they got the job
All
because of
right,
that?
so
I don't
that's
understand
what
what
I'm
he
gonna
was
get
going
at
with that.
still. That's what I'm gonna get at still because I heard just now, just before this program, I actually watched ABC, right? And the audio of the air traffic controllers were broadcast,
Right?
right? And I'm not trying to say anything, but the other guy sound like a black guy. It sounded like a black guy talking to a white dude. And they were
Okay.
like, what the hell happened? Did you see that? Did I see that? Okay, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But 2 weeks earlier, he fired all the people from the FAA. He fired all the people from the Ministry of Transportation just the week before, and this happened. You gotta coincide things together, right? He knows it was on his watch. That's why he's trying to blame other people. This is psychological stuff. If you ever went to university and took psych class, everything falls down the line. You
Yes.
feel me?
Yes.
When rain, listen, I could talk from a mountain, I could talk to a floor. If rain falls on a mountain, what does it do? Go down the hill,
Yes.
right? If rain falls on the grass, what does it do? Into the
Go in the
soil.
ground. Right. Right.
Exactly. I don't even want to call common sense because common sense ain't common. Right? But you have to look at stuff like this and figure it out for yourself. That's it, man.
Yeah. Well,
You know?
yes. But that's definitely Trump MO. He blames
Yes.
everybody. So that wasn't anything different to me as far as
No.
in blaming, but I couldn't get the connection with the DEI. Why is he saying diversity and inclusion is responsible? Anyway,
And he
so
said, like, I watched it just before the podcast. So basically, he's trying to say, like, for me, like, probably this is new to the viewers if they don't know. Like, I heard the audio. The other audio sound like a
well,
black
you
man.
can't go by
The other
sound.
audio was a white man,
That's
right?
racism right
I know
there.
how they sound. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a man, so it sounded like a black man, right?
Okay, all right, but you can't go by
So
that.
for
He
for
must
for for
know.
him,
He
for
must
him,
know that it's a black person. He can't just go by sound.
yes,
Someone must have told him that, right?
yes, but I'm not, maybe I've heard a lot of black guys, so I know it was a black guy, right? So
Okay.
he's saying DEI had to be a problem because he doesn't feel black people are intelligent, and that's very disgusting in my
Yeah,
eyes. So I know where he's going. I really know where he's going still, what I'm saying?
yeah,
Because all the policies he's dealing with are going that way. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So it's like if you're gonna say black people are not intelligent, you got something, you got a real problem with yourself, I
yeah,
believe.
yeah. Well, we're getting off tangent here, but
Yeah,
I've been soaking in that myself
yeah,
recently when I watched Michael Vick do this program about the black quarterbacks, and that
yeah. I watched that.
they didn't think that the black quarterbacks were intelligent, to
Yes,
carry the team. And now the whole NFL
yes,
is full of black quarterbacks. We have two black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. So yeah, and
yes.
then one of my very, very first interviews 7 years ago when I started this podcast was a gentleman that came
Mm,
on, and he's from England, by the way. So it's not even just here,
yeah,
it's a predominant thing. He is from England, and he said that when he started working, they told him that black people's brain doesn't have enough capacity as a white person. Just like how they said that Chinese people are smarter, they're saying that the white person have a bigger brain or whatever. And he had to go, and he said he actually believed that until he studied it and
yes,
recognized that it's all bull crap. So,
yes.
I know that the people are saying that now are not going by any science. They're saying that as
No.
a tool to keep down the black person. We're highly
Yes.
intelligent people, you know?
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
So
yeah,
like
if that's
end
where
of the
this is
day, like
going, then
if
this
you
is really
guys really
bad.
want to go down that route, that could be a different podcast.
Yes.
That's a rabbit hole that's very deep. You know what I'm saying? But sticking to the DI conversation,
Right,
that's um people are really reluctant to talk about white supremacy. Like, what is white supremacy? Like, it
right,
has nothing to do with white people. You know what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with white people because all of us are spewing it, especially Africans, slaves that came to this continent. There's a rule, in war. If you know anything about war, that whoever owns the land makes the history. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we've been fed all our lives, and that's why this type of topic is kind of like niche, which it shouldn't be niche. It should be taught in all schools and stuff like that. But they have to keep that white supremacy, quote unquote, keep on going. So because there's money involved here,
oh,
and
of
there's
course.
people's minds. You know what I'm saying? because you don't want people asking too much questions, but 'cause then they're gonna want reparations, and after that,
Right.
governments fall.
Right.
So
Yes.
they're trying to keep
Again,
it as low as
my
possible.
brain has been expanded by knowledge about all this stuff. I told you I've just gone down
Yeah,
this rabbit hole. I listened to a program.
yeah,
I listened to a
yeah,
program on YouTube on Sunday when I'm normally watching church. This thing popped up
yes,
and I listened
yeah,
to it. I think I sent it to you. Roland Martin
yeah,
talking about follow the money. And the reason
yes,
this is going on right now is follow the money. And we're going to talk about that in a
mhm,
minute because we're going to talk about oligarchy. All right.
yes,
That was a good introduction about,
yeah,
race and DEI, and thank you for clarifying that for me because
mhm,
I didn't get it. So again,
yeah,
you've got your boots on the ground and you understand and you've been soaking in it, and I am just coming into this conversation. So thank you for
yeah, for
that.
sure.
Now, the second thing that I'm not even sure if you heard this before because it blew my
Mhm,
mind too. Again, I was not in this history. But the second statement that Booker T. Washington made that penetrated and transformed my mind is that slavery set the Black race. Now, I'm not going to use man, I'm going to use race up
yeah,
for success.
yeah,
He said that slavery taught the Black man to work hard with nothing but his hands. He learned trade, he learned agriculture, whereas the white man, when slavery was abolished, he didn't know how to do nothing because who
yeah,
was doing all the work on the plantation? The Black
yeah,
people, right? The white
yeah,
women sat around and had people fan the flies from them, did all the cooking, all the cleaning. And even to now, most
yes,
of them can't
yes,
even
yes,
cook. Most of them doesn't know how to keep
yes,
a house, right? And that's
yes,
100 years ago. So, but what he's
yes,
saying that whenever you have struggle, and I think it's very true, because if you look at all the
mhm,
rags to riches stories, who are the people
yes,
that rise up like cream? The people that are struggling, the
yeah,
people that are starving, the people that are homeless, right? They
yeah,
become
yeah,
millionaires and billionaires because of that struggle. So, what he's
mhm,
saying is that slavery benefited the Black race because they got confidence, they got strength,
oh,
they got, um, uh, a
oh
whole
boy,
bunch of things that the white man didn't
yeah,
have. And when I heard that,
yeah,
I look at what's going on in professional sports now. It's
yeah,
almost all Black people. And that's because
yeah,
the little boys grew up saying, you know what, I got to be better, I got to be faster, I got to be stronger. And they're getting the
yeah,
recognition, not because they're
yeah, for sure,
slouches, but because
yeah,
they work hard in order to get that
yes,
recognition.
yeah,
So let's comment on that. Do you
yeah,
think that slavery was
yeah, for
a
sure.
benefit?
Like, like I always like to start from the beginning, like in my mind, what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you know, um, slavery was a convenience that Europe had to do to get the black man out of Europe to begin with. 1492, they always teach us about that's when Columbus came across. But that was the last stronghold in Granada was 1492. That's a little bit south of Spain, and it was strategic, to get all those people who were conquerors and kings and princes and what things with money, because they were prisoners of war out of there, right? So who brought Christopher Columbus to America was black people. You understand what I'm saying? Because he had a basically um they benefited from this thing too as well. You know what I'm saying? So when they came here, we had all those damn skills already. When you really think about it, you gotta really think really hard about it. Like, people in Europe, they had no agriculture. They eat meat. They kill each other to survive. In that cold weather. We're the ones that knew how to do agriculture, how to make baskets, how to make pottery, how to do all these type of things. So all the people in the world they want to enslave, they're going to enslave the best, the strongest. They
Yes,
tried it with the Indians. They tried it with the Coolie people, like we call it back in our country. They tried it with all of them. They never got the same result,
right.
right? Because they
Yes.
knew that we had that knowledge already. You know,
And the strength,
to
of
to
course, right.
for the white man or whoever the white supremacists want to say that we learned this thing from slavery. We didn't have this thing ready, right? And when you talk about the white woman too as well, she benefited from it, and the white man benefited from it. The whole country of America benefited from it to make it the most powerful country in the world because for 400 years they had free labor, right?
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
why we have this civil war, you know what I'm saying? And
Right.
not even a civil war in America, a civil war around the world. Because even people who were even white wanted to do the same thing that the Americans did. So the white supremacy, like I said before,
Wow.
is not a white people problem. It's a global problem. You hear what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
he's seen somebody. It's like you reading Donald Trump's book back in the day, Mom. Remember?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I had that book. We had two of his books in my room. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying?
Yes.
And he was the greatest for us back in those times. He
Yeah.
understood that's what it was,
Right.
right? And people can't forget that. He might have turned it to something else after, but that's why you got voted into the presidency twice.
Right. Right. Okay. So, all right. So let's summarize that. So what you're
Yeah.
saying is that we came here, the Black people came here with the
Yeah.
skills that the white person exploited. We knew
Yes.
agriculture, we know craft, we know skills, we know cooking, cleaning, I mean, cooking and
Yes.
mending, and all the things
Yes.
that the Black person did for the white person. So, do
Yeah.
you agree that they didn't know to do anything after slavery? And that the question was, do you think that slavery benefited the Black race? Or are
Oh,
you saying
never.
we already knew these things before, so they didn't teach
Never,
us?
man.
Okay, all right.
Never, man. Like that's what they want you to think about. That's this woke stuff too as well. It's the same thing as the DEI thing, but a different word. They're trying to like take slavery and black history out of school
Well,
in
we know
America.
that,
I
right?
think they're trying to do it up here a little
If
bit
those
too,
white people were
right?
to
Because
read these books, okay, hang on.
yeah,
If those,
yeah,
one of the comments on,
yeah,
because I'm reading these books from, it's in, from YouTube actually. I'm not even buying them; they're
yes,
free, right? And one
yeah,
of the comments on one of the YouTube videos, the one that I'm reading right now, from
yeah,
Frederick Douglass, they're saying that every person should read this book, black and white. So if
yes,
listen, if you're a young boy or a young girl and you're disgusted like I am listening to that, and that's why I didn't want to take it out. But yeah, but that's what
yeah,
we were talking about. We are talking about the difference in the struggle good for you, and is not
yeah.
knowing crap and having somebody do all your work bad for you. That's really the question
Yeah.
here. And
Well,
I think
obviously, like, technical skills, which I think a lot of youth are lacking right now, hands-on skills is
yes,
always going to be good to you because most of the stuff that you're taught in the field, you get taught from your parents, right? It's a session going down from generation to generation. That's why the Africans never had written word. That's what they say. I believe different. You know what I'm saying? But what they say is that we never had written word. And songs, a song from your from a little girl in church, and
right,
you're still singing the same songs too. It's all about reciting. You
right,
know what I'm saying? So any skill, if slavery or not, is going to benefit that person in the long run. But
right,
what did not benefit us, if I can say, is that we worked for free and didn't get nothing for it.
right, right.
We plowed the land, we made the roads, we dug the railroads, we built the
Yes,
houses, and didn't have nothing to show for it after we did
yes,
this thing,
yes, yes,
right? And I think that demoralizes generations, right? Your
yes,
grandmother's gonna talk about it, she's gonna talk about to you, she gonna like it goes down the line of this
yes,
depression. You understand what I'm saying? And that's
yes,
generational, you know what I'm saying?
yes.
So it's not it's not nothing to say that black people are hopeless. I can never say that.
No,
You
they're
know what I'm
not saying
saying?
hopeless.
But
They're saying
the
that
teachings
we're
is making us
strengthened by
hopeless.
it. Right.
Yeah,
Yes, we're
yeah,
strengthened by it because you're right. We
yeah,
know how to work with our hands, right? Where the
yeah,
white person didn't know anything, they didn't have any skills because they figured it out. The black people can do it. But let
yes,
me circle back on something you just said there a minute ago, which is the focus of Booker T. Washington's book was that
yes.
they didn't want us to learn. And in fact, I'm at the
No,
chapter right now with Frederick Douglass when he was a slave boy and his slave master was teaching him to read. The wife was teaching him
yeah,
to read, and the husband says,
yeah,
"No, you can't teach that N word not to read
yeah,
because then
yeah,
he's going to be smart, and the two don't go together. Slavery and
yes,
education And
Yes.
right, they didn't want us to learn to read. They didn't want us to know the written word. They just
Yeah.
want our skills and labor. You're right, for
Yeah.
free, for
Yeah.
nothing. And
Yeah.
before I went down into this rabbit hole, I couldn't figure
Yeah.
out why they weren't sorry. I'm saying to myself, you see the movies with Roots, and you see the movies with 12 Years a Slave, and you see all those movies about the cruelty of slavery. Why isn't the white man looking at that and feeling bad? They're not feeling bad. They're doing the same thing still. I mean, and now I'm
Yes.
understanding the psychology and I'm understanding that it's all about money and commerce
Yeah.
because that's what this country is built on. It's money and
Yes.
commerce.
Capitalism. Yeah.
Capitalism.
I agree
Right,
with you. I agree with you.
right,
Yeah.
right. Okay. Well, that is a good segue into this new term now, oligarchy. You know, Joe
Yeah.
Biden in his closing message to the American people introduced the term to me. I don't know how many people knew about it before, but let me just give you a
Mhm.
definition of what it is. The term means
Yep.
a small group of people having control of a country, organization, or institution. So just for
Yes.
conversation, I was listening to my pastor, not my pastor,
Mhm.
one of the pastors that I watch, Jamal Bryant from Newburgh in Atlanta. And he was
Yeah.
talking about that 400 white people have more money than 4 million or 30 million black people, something along those lines, right?
Yes. Yes.
So that's what the president is talking about, this oligarchy, all, and now,
Yeah.
before everybody wanted to be a millionaire, then they wanted to be a billionaire. Now they're looking to be trillionaires. No, no money is
Yes.
enough, right?
Yeah.
So
No man is enough.
what are you thinking of is the agenda of the super rich? What do they want?
Oh boy. Um, dude, like these guys, especially especially when you're dealing with capitalism, capitalism has no ceiling, right? Especially when you're dealing with inflation and stuff like that. It has no ceiling. So what they're doing is exploiting all the smaller countries, right, to get more gain, right? So when it comes to like the World Bank and the I would say the United Nations too as well, and the stock market, they're all working together to keep the colonialism, right? The
Yes,
colonial guys still up top, even though they gave us back our country, right? A lot of people don't know when they once they gave us back our country, like Jamaica, Guyana, all these little, even the ones in Africa, Nigeria and Mali and Banakuso, I think I'm saying that wrong. Like once they leave, you're in debt.
right,
You're in debt forever. You understand what I'm
right.
saying? Right? So if you're in debt, your money can never grow. They leave you in a bad situation to begin with. So how are you gonna climb out that hole when they stole all your riches,
Hmm.
right? And the oligarchy to me is that they stole all your riches and keep you at the minimum level as possible for the longest period of time, right? And that's what's going on in society when it comes to capitalism. The person that's actually on the ground doing the real work is making less money than the person up there that's doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? And for me, that makes completely no sense, right? Because the person that's actually making you the thousands and millions or trillions of dollars, you know, you're paying them less than a person who's on top not doing anything. You know what I'm saying? So it's in reverse. So compensation for time, time for money, even though they say, oh, time is money and money is time, to them, it's a whole different world for them.
Yeah,
Because Buddy could go play golf all day and
yeah,
he's racking in trillions of dollars when the person's actually there running his company making less money for him.
yes,
Right? And that's what capitalism is all about. That's what the world order is all about. Right? So for us, the small fries, that we're always gonna feel that we're taken disadvantage of. Of course, we're doing the hard labor. We're not seeing our families. The wife wants to leave us because we're not home, and the kids don't respect us. All type of things. But if them people up there, I'm gonna tell you something. Their life ain't no better either. Because all the people that we look at on social media and the President Trumps and the Elon Musk, those men have been through thousands of women, been through hundreds of marriages
yes,
altogether.
Yes.
and does not make them any more happier than the person that's working at McDonald's at the fast food line,
Yeah.
right?
So
So
why do
other
they
people
need the
I feel a lot
money
of
if
people
it
have
doesn't
feelings
buy
about that too as
happiness?
well.
Is
Yeah,
just for
yeah, it
show?
doesn't make you
Just
happy.
to say that you're a trillionaire? I mean, you're
Right.
right. The money is not bringing them any happiness, right?
Mhm.
But they've always
Right.
said that money don't buy happiness. It doesn't buy health. Doesn't buy happiness. So, which is why
Yeah.
I'm thinking, why do you need to be a trillionaire? Why do you need to be a billionaire? I mean, it don't make no sense, especially when you're
It
still
really doesn't. It really
squeezing.
doesn't. Like I said before, common sense is not common.
Right.
And there are people, living on this earth way before money and coins and this stuff was going around. They're living perfect lives. You know what I'm saying? And they had medicine and they had technology and they have math and they're doing it according to the laws of nature. What we're doing right now is not is against the laws of nature,
Yeah.
right? So that's why all this climate stuff is happening, and that's
Yeah.
why a lot of people
Yeah.
are getting into the renewables, right? This is science, you know what I'm saying? This is not just some fly in the pan stuff because 300 years ago we weren't talking about this. Now we're talking about this, right? So what I'm seeing right now is that the white supremacists, it could be anybody, want to bring it back to where women are in the kitchen and they couldn't say nothing. You know what I'm saying? I'm making it, you know, that there's a million different things they want to do. But, for I know that they want to take it back to the 1800s, bro. We're in 2025.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So for me, I have a beautiful mother like you, and I got sisters and I got aunts and stuff like that. I really feel sorry for you guys right now, man. I'm telling you, all the work you guys did through the 60s, all through the 1800s, everything just got wiped out
Yeah.
in 2.5 seconds. So it's like we
Yes.
gotta we gotta build it back. We gotta build it back from scratch again, obviously. So it's
Yes.
ridiculous.
Yes. You brought me back to a video that happened after Trump was elected.
Yep.
And there's this white guy that was talking about why they like Trump, how they know how bad he is, but he's their leader, and women's rights gone, sexual orientation gone. All the things
God.
that he was talking about, all the stuff
Yeah.
that Trump is doing right now, he's saying gone, you know what I mean? Because that's what we want him to do, and that's his mandate. And he is
Yeah.
he is going after it with gusto. Nobody can believe he's
Mhm.
only been in power for 8 days as of this recording, right? And
Yeah.
look what the world is in chaos. It's not
Yeah.
only our country, but the chaos, because you talk about energy as we first started. Yes,
Mhm.
energy. It's, it goes, right? The
It
energy
does.
of what's going on in America, everybody is watching
Yes.
the news, or everybody is going, whatever, they're feeling it too. It's
Mhm.
been transferred, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah. Negative
it's been felt
energy.
everywhere.
Negative
Mhm.
energy is transferable. You know what I'm saying? Everything is in hertz. And everything's in frequencies too as well. Like,
Yes,
I remember I was talking to you one day. You talk bad to one plant, then you talk good to the next plant. The plant that you talk to is gonna grow faster than the
yes,
plant you talk negative
yes,
to.
yes,
All of us are human organisms, man.
yes,
Right? So that's the feeling I want to get with the viewers. Like, feeling and facts and science all work together. Because end of the day, how would you know about science if you never had that feeling to begin with to know that is right or wrong?
right.
Or how would you investigate certain things if you didn't have a feeling if that could work or not? Right? Everything comes from a feeling, everything comes from a thought,
Mhm.
right? So, to follow somebody in like there's an old saying, like, what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. Are you gonna follow your leader over a cliff to kill himself? A lot of people
Yeah,
do, but a lot
yeah,
of people don't too as well,
yes,
right? So you
yes,
have to have a infallible belief in yourself that what is right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has different views about that,
yes, yes, yes.
which
Well,
I really
again,
can't
I couldn't
explain.
understand it. Again,
Yeah,
I couldn't understand it, but now it's becoming clear to me, because you've got to
yeah,
go back to the psychology of slavery. It's all where it starts. You
yeah,
say, they say, in coaching, clarity is one of the biggest things. You can't make changes to anything unless
yes,
you don't
sir.
understand the reason, a cause. the source, right? So now I'm
Yeah.
understanding what America was built on, and now I'm understanding what's
Yes.
going on, right? So
Mhm.
it's yes,
It's a
it's
real, it's a
actually
real crude, it's a real crude thing. And you gotta you have to understand, they used to call us cannibals and savages and stuff, but the real savage and the real cannibal is them. You
yes.
know what I'm saying? Like you have to
Oh yeah.
understand they came from a place where there was no vegetation. There was no life for thousands of years. You have to understand the ice age. That's what they became
Mm,
fair skin because of climate. You have to understand we're all Africans at the end of the day. We all came from the same
yeah.
region of Africa. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But they separated for so long, they lost themselves and they lost their own humanity on top
My
of
God.
it. I'm not trying to say who's a savage and who's not, because people do this all over the world. But
Yeah.
the brutality of slavery was nothing that was in Africa. Slavery was in Africa. It was called indentured work. You understand what I'm saying? Right? That's why the Indians came to North America after slavery, because they had a system like that in their own country too as well.
Yeah.
Right? That's what the African was thinking, that they were enslaving their own people to do, but their form of slavery was cutting your guts out and chopping your head off and stuff like that. And you could
Right.
look at medieval times. I was watching something just popped up on my feed, saying just random, of how King Harry used to torture his wives and killed them off and stuff like that. We didn't want them.
Oh
That's what he
wow.
used to do to women. And
Wow.
that's what these people want to do too, man. Like, like I'm not even gonna say the woman's name. You could do your own research, man. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? And that's what
Mm-hmm.
they used to do women. They could
Right.
decapitate them when they didn't
Right.
want them anymore. Right? And,
Mm.
and make them feel that they were doing stuff inferior or a witch or something, burn them at the stake and crazy shit like that. Sorry for cussing, but it's just
Yeah.
wild, because I feel that this is what these people want right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I'm
Yeah,
glad
man.
you brought up the point that slavery was not just in America. And I'm glad you brought it,
Yeah,
again, consciousness is so important. You just mentioned that, yeah,
yeah, for
whenever
sure.
something is going right someplace else, somebody else wants to do it. We can look at what's going on. I,
Yeah, for
I don't
sure.
know anything about it, just again, surface level,
Mm,
apartheid, and then
yeah,
what was going on in India. And, I was
yeah.
also I read this book called Life's Meaning or something, which is a guy that was in the concentration camp.
Mm,
And he was
yeah,
slave too in the concentration camp. You're right. It's done all over
yeah,
the world by some very mean
yeah.
people that have no soul, people that have no
Yes,
conscience, right? So
yes.
so I'm glad that we're leaving it with the consciousness of it's a worldwide global problem.
Yeah,
Again,
it's
nobody
a
probably
global disease on
right, right,
a global scale, right? I believe.
right. But we focus on
Yeah,
slavery in America, and I probably think that it was worse here than anywhere else. Again, I'm just
yeah,
reading it from this focus right now.
yes,
Right. So as we wrap up, I mean, this was a great conversation, son. I mean, I'm glad
yeah,
that you were, have your ear to the ground and becoming interested in
yeah,
politics and maybe becoming a political commentator and like you said, going to start
yeah,
your own podcast and talk about this stuff because you're seeing the reason the podcasts
yeah, for sure.
are so
Like
popular is
like,
because it's life, right? And
yeah, yeah.
people
It's
are
very
sharing their
popular. It's very popular.
intimate views, right? So yeah, so tell our
Yeah,
listeners
for
about
sure.
your businesses, and how they can get in touch with you and maybe follow you on social media.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so for me, I think I'm more of a creative type of person. So, I go by what I hear, and but how I feel about things too as well. As you can see, this the banner behind me. This is one of probably the first businesses I started. This was a screen printing and media company called Tightwork. When I used to live in Florida, I used to hear people say tight work this, tight work that. And then this means like, the quality of work is tight, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to basically pursue that type of vision in tight work. And the reason why I chose this logo too as well is that it has a very political background. And people might emulate this thing as the Black Panther Party, but it actually was a party in Mississippi, one of the first Democratic parties in Mississippi that chose this logo to be their mascot. The white people down in Mississippi, they basically had their own logo, which was well, a crow or a rooster or something like that, and they wanted to combat that with something that was fierce and something that represented Black people. And that's why
Beautiful.
I picked this. I
Mm.
picked this for that instinct because I always want to teach, all people, not just Black people, but all people where what things mean and what they really really do for the community too as well, right? So this is one of the first democratic logos of the United States of America. And I think, if people really do know Fannie Lou Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer out with Mississippi, this is one of her original local constituents. And then the Black Panther, in Oakland took it over as their political party mascot too as well, right? So, in the same vision of that, is all about community, is all about coming together, is all about conversation, it's all about how we can make things better for ourselves because, especially in Canada, our government, too, as well as in America, they give us a lot of grants, they give us a lot of opportunities, to foster, education and local community upliftment and stuff like that. So, end of the day, anybody could organize any kind of organization. Anybody could organize any church or religious organization or anything like that and come together and get grants and get, not-for-profit status and go on the ground and get contributions for the community for things that you feel that the community is needed because the government doesn't always do that for us.
Okay, so you just want to talk about tight work. That's
Yeah,
good. I mean, I didn't
yeah.
even know any of this before. I mean, I know that you've got
Mhm.
your how you named it and how you that is very
Yeah,
impressive. So,
yes.
how what is your Instagram handle? I also know
Yeah, my
you.
Instagram handle right now, guys can check me out at Braves Movement, BRAVES_movement at Instagram. And my email, you can hit me up on my email, newworks80, just like it sounds, two W's, at gmail.com. And if you want to continue the conversation, I'm more than happy to reach out to you guys.
Okay, that's amazing. All right, that's good. I love it. Yes, of course. A transcript of my conversation with Kevin will be on the show page, which is myhelps.us. I would also link out to his Instagram handle. And he also has like I said, he's a serial entrepreneur. He's a chef. So I will also link out to his business of, food delivery and cooking his
Yes,
halal meals. So,
yes.
and of course, he mentions that he's a very, very efficient um, creator. Like he designed that logo. He designed the logo for
Yes,
shirts. He does t-shirt printing
yes.
and things like that. So I'm glad to introduce
Mm,
him in all these different aspects:
mm,
commentator,
mm.
chef, um, uh, you
Yes.
know, uh, creative as far as logo making and things like that.
Mhm.
Thank you, Kevin, for being on the show and teaching me a few things,
Thank you
that,
very
like
much.
I,
Thank you for having me. And like I said before, you guys can reach out on my Instagram, Braves_movement. And you could also reach me on my email, newworks80 at gmail.com.
great. All right. So
Yeah.
thank you. Listen, thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life. Today we were
Mhm.
talking about race relations in America. We talked about slavery. We talked about DEI. We talked about, a special mention to the victims of the plane crash, the tragedy, very
Yes.
young people on that plane. And I know that, our hearts go out to the family. And it's really sad that instead of us just, you know, uh, being sad, we're like throwing blame around. It's a bad look,
Yes.
right? It's a very bad
It's
look. And
about
I'm glad that, we were able to, lend some thought to that. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in. Love to hear your comments. This was a topic that we need your comments. You're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment, and get into the conversation, get into the movement. All right. And,
yes.
just like, share, and leave comments. So thanks again for tuning in. Thank you, Kev, for being on the show.
Thank you very
Until
much.
next time, namaste.